all eyes were on Udinese against Juventus. What a game this turned out to be. It finished 2-2. Late on, it looked like substitute Cristiano Ronaldo had scored the winner. However, it was chalked off because of offside. Ronaldo, though, dominating all the headlines as there were reports that he'd asked not to start this game in search for a transfer elsewhere. Ahead of kickoff, Pavel Nedved came out and said we must not try to create sensational stories where there aren't any. It was a decision shared with the player. At the start of the season, naturally, he is not at top fitness. The coach is trying to use the best lineup at this moment. For example, Chiellini is also on the bench today. The decisions were made to be most competitive. I can absolutely confirm Ronaldo will remain at Juventus this season. After the draw, inevitably, Allegri was asked about Ronaldo not starting. He said, Cristiano Ronaldo is fit, yes. I've talked to him before the game, telling him he would start on the bench. He made himself available. He did well when he entered the pitch. To try and break down this ongoing soap opera, we welcome in Gab Marcotti and Alessandro Del Piero is with us. Ali, let's start with you. What do you make of all this?
I don't know. It was a big surprise at the beginning of the game, to be honest. After the game, not at all, because Allegri is very good to handle this kind of situation. It seems really relaxed in front of the camera and say, well, yeah, I want to use it from the bench. That's it. And this is what happened. And to be honest, Ronaldo also scored a goal at the last minute, but was offside. So he did what he used to do, scoring goals. It's not a big deal now, but create a couple of question marks. For sure, Juve wanted to stay with Ronaldo and Ronaldo as well, but maybe an eye on the market for both of them still open.
Yeah, Gab, of course, the market's still open until the start of September. Where do you think this could play out? How is this going to affect Ronaldo going forward? And will he be in a Juventus shirt come September?
Well, look, first and foremost, I don't think you make decisions like this on the day, right? So if they had decided together it was a shared decision that he wouldn't start, the obvious thing to do, and to avoid all controversy, is to brief the media on Friday, hey, look, Cristiano's going to be on the bench, just like they said Federico Chiesa is going to be on the bench, for example. Beyond that, like this ties back to the Chiringuito story. I read a column about it this week. And the situation Juventus have right now vis-a-vis Cristiano, he is costing them a ton of money in wages and amortization. It's close to $100 million this season between the two of them. And so I think they're happy to keep him, but equally they know that they probably can't afford to extend his contract, and he becomes a free agent in June. So inevitably this creates this impasse. The problem with somebody else going in and signing him is that if you sign Cristiano Ronaldo, it's like signing a company. These are very complicated matters, all sorts of commercial deals and so on. Plus, Cristiano has to want to leave, right? He's got to want to go to a big stage. It's not clear that he necessarily wants to leave either. So it's a messy situation. I think the latest rumor that you're going to hear, and I'm making a bold prediction about the Spanish press, is that Kylian Mbappe is going to leave to go to Madrid, and he's going to replace him, and then we're going to have the Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Neymar front line in the whole world, and all our minds are all going to explode with so much hype in one place. Okay, that's a joke. I don't know. Anything can happen.
Too late,
Stranger
Gab.
things
I've
have
already
happened,
tweeted it. It's out there. Marcotti confirms Ronaldo to PSG. Gab, just on that point, okay, just say that Ronaldo wants to leave. Juve happy, as you say, to get him off his books. Where could he go? You mentioned, are we in PSG, Manchester City? Is that it? Like, where else?
I mean, look, even if Ronaldo takes a pay cut, there's still going to be very few places that can afford him. You saw what Carlo Ancelotti said after the El Chiringuito report. I don't see how he could possibly go back on that. I think it would be very difficult unless it was a club choice. And it's without considering the fact that Cristiano would likely have to take a pay cut as well. Paris Saint-Germain, you're always going to be linked, but equally, that's got to be contingent on Mbappe leaving this transfer window. And again, I think that's highly unlikely. Inevitably, he's going to be linked. I think you're going to see reports in Italy linking him to Manchester City if they don't get Harry Kane. But again, Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester City right now, from a football perspective, I think makes zero sense for Manchester City. But when you look around Europe, well, you ask yourself who can afford a player of this magnitude and his wages. There really aren't very, very many clubs. So do you make a romantic choice and go back to Sporting Lisbon? Do you do something like that? I don't know. But what we know so far, though, and I think this is important, it's been widely reported that Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't formally made any moves or requested a move, and also that his teammates are under the impression that he's staying. And I think that's an important part of the equation here. I think if somebody goes and tries to get Cristiano, it's one thing. But I don't think Cristiano is going to look around Europe and say, hey, who wants to sign me? I don't think he's in a position or in a mindset to do that. And if he stays at Juve, I think he's happy.
How much, Ali, is this a headache for Allegri?
For Allegri, kind of zero. He's a guy that, nothing can bother him. In any case, he has a beautiful mind in terms of how to deal with these things. And what happened today is the proof that he is smart, because he knows that he can handle it. But he also knows that, say on Friday, Cristiano is not going to play, we create 2 days of headache for the rest of the world.
Right.
And he doesn't want to do that. But in his mind, in his projection, and in his way to do things, nothing changed for Allegri. This is one of the best quality that he has from my point of view.
Do you think, Ali, Ronaldo is comfortable in this position, not being the main man, not being the main starter, if indeed this sets the tone for the rest of the season?
I think that Ronaldo's still Ronaldo. It doesn't matter. If he accepts a couple of benches during the year, I think it's going to be good for him in terms of recovery. Sometimes not play all the games, because you need, and he needs himself 100% for the game that is the game with the big G, the game that you need to win, that you need to score, that you need to go through. For example, Champions League, we're talking about Champions League, of course, and the big games against Inter, against Milan, against Roma. So having, some kind of break during the year is not a big deal, especially at that age, even though Ronaldo is amazing shape, as always. But it will be good for him if he's going to accept this kind of situation.
Any chance he could leave, Ali, in your opinion?
I said everything can happen. Of course, an eye on the market is still open. But from my point of view, no. You will say clearly that he's going to stay. Ronaldo doesn't have any kind of nervous situation during the training or between players or even behind the scene. So I don't think he's going to leave.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.